Noah, my caretaker, called from the driveway and asked whether I wanted him to change every lock before my wife could throw him out. I was in Portland when he said it. Rain tapped against the window of my office, and his voice carried the dry wind of Maui through the phone. My suitcase is beside the front door, Noah told me. Evelyn says a new property manager will be here by lunch. Then he sent a photograph. His old canvas bag sat on the stone path below my lanai. Behind it, my wife's silver rental car stood open. Dale and Ruth Mercer were unloading matching hard-shell suitcases. A man I had never met carried a garment bag toward the house as though he knew where the closets were. That man was Bradley Knox. Evelyn had introduced Bradley as a family friend from Arizona 2 weeks earlier. In the photograph, he had one hand on her lower back. "Did she say why you had to leave?" I asked. "She said the house needs a different direction," Noah replied. "Then she said you would understand once you saw how happy everyone was." There are sentences that arrive already carrying their meaning. You don't need an argument around them. You need to decide whether you will keep pretending you misunderstood. I was 69 years old. My knees ached when rain moved in. I had spent 41 years designing municipal bridges, and I had learned that a structure rarely fails at the moment it breaks. It fails much earlier, when somebody decides a small crack belongs to somebody else. "Noah," I said, "do you have the replacement cylinders?" "In the truck. I bought them after the last storm, like we discussed." "Don't touch a thing inside yet. Photograph the rooms. Photograph the cars. Keep every message Evelyn sent you." He waited. Then I said, "Change every exterior lock. Cancel the keypad codes. Leave the gate open until they are out. After that, it closes." Noah let out one slow breath. "I will do it the right way." "You always have." My wife had tried to remove the one man who understood the difference between caring for my house and helping someone take it from me. If you have ever watched somebody call your patience weakness because they wanted access to what you built, drop a comment with the word boundary. You don't need to explain the whole story to recognize the moment it changes. I had bought the Maui house 3 years before I met Evelyn. It had a leaking roof, a damaged lower deck, and a long lanai above the coast in Kula. I repaired it from savings earned on bridge projects, so every small failure had a date, a cost, and a name. Noah came during the first month. He found a loose rail and a drainage problem I had missed, then returned with a notebook instead of a sales pitch. I hired him the next day, and for 11 years he handled the ordinary work that kept my house honest. He understood stewardship. Evelyn understood presentation. When we met, she was 52 and working for a small interior design firm in Portland. She had a bright laugh, a sharp eye, and a way of making a room seem more finished after she entered it. I liked that about her. She saw color where I saw paint coats. At first, Evelyn loved the house as a pause button. I married her 2 years after we met. My daughter Hannah, a middle school science teacher in Seattle, welcomed her into our life, and Evelyn gave Hannah a pale green scarf that she still kept. Then Dale and Ruth Mercer began treating the rooms as a project. They proposed a guest suite, new furniture, and a bigger pool deck. I heard the entitlement in pieces and decided each piece was too small to challenge. Small claims can be the first survey markers for a much larger claim. The brass key appeared during our 2nd year of marriage. Noah had removed an old cupboard beside the lanai closet because the wood behind it had softened. Taped to the back panel was a small key with a dented metal tag. The tag said in my father's kind of handwriting, "Lanai closet." It wasn't my father's writing, of course. He had never been to Maui. But it carried the same plainness. A person had made a key, labeled it, and expected somebody to respect what it opened. Noah placed it in my palm. "Keep it with the house log," he said. The closet held nothing dramatic. Old hurricane shutters, spare filters, receipts, and the original hand-drawn drainage plan from the owner before me. Still, I kept that key in the small black maintenance book Noah and I used for every repair. It became a habit. Whenever Noah finished something substantial, he wrote the date, the work, and the next thing the house would need. I would read it over coffee. Sometimes I added a note. Sometimes I signed my initials. It was boring, ordinary, and dependable. Evelyn called it clutter. "You have apps for this now," she said one afternoon, holding the book by 2 fingers. "Why do you keep a little funeral register for a vacation house?" I took it from her. "Because paper doesn't pretend it forgot." She smiled, but her mouth stayed tight. By then, we had been married 8 years. I had started noticing that she spoke of my house differently when I wasn't in the room. With me, she called it your place in Maui. With her parents, she called it our island home. Those phrases can mean the same thing in a good marriage. They didn't mean the same thing in mine. Last autumn, Evelyn asked whether we should put the house into a joint estate plan. It was a reasonable question on its face. We were older, we both had children from earlier lives. Planning wasn't betrayal. I told her I would speak to my attorney. Her face changed before she could control it. "Your attorney," she said, not ours. Mine has the documents, I replied. Then we can both look at options. Everything is always an option with you, Jim. Nothing is ever a yes. I should have heard the accusation beneath that sentence. Evelyn didn't want a conversation about the future. She wanted the past rearranged. The house had remained in the Weller family trust because it had been mine before the marriage, and because I wanted the succession language clear. Evelyn knew that. She had signed an acknowledgement years earlier after her own attorney reviewed it. I never used it as a weapon. I never held it over her head. I thought not mentioning it was generosity. Sometimes silence is merely an unlocked door. The first time I heard Bradley's name, Evelyn was packing for a design conference in Scottsdale. She said a former client needed help staging a small resort property, and a consultant named Bradley Knox would be there. You would like him, she told me. He understands how older homes need a new story. I said I was sure he did. 3 months later, Bradley was calling her after dinner. Then he was sending her links to coastal listings. Then his name appeared in a calendar invitation for a weekend in Maui, while I was scheduled to inspect a bridge project outside Portland for an old colleague. Evelyn called it a family reset. Mom and Dad have been lonely, she said. We will use the house for a week. You can come after your inspection. I had planned to fly in Friday. Noah called on Tuesday. The call lasted 11 minutes. It changed the next several years of my life. After I authorized the locks, I asked Noah to read me every message Evelyn had sent him that morning. He didn't dramatize them. That was another reason I trusted him. The first message said, "Please clear the owner closet and move your tools off-site. We are restructuring the property care arrangement." The second said, "Bradley will be taking over. Jim is slowing down and doesn't want to manage details anymore." The third was sent after Noah asked for written confirmation from me. "Don't bother him. He asked me to handle this. You are making a family transition harder than it needs to be." There it was. Not concern. Replacement. I asked Noah whether Evelyn had touched the black maintenance book. "She asked where it was yesterday," he said. "I told her it stays in the lower desk drawer. This morning it was on the counter beside your old key rack."
Is it still there? I put it in the truck before I called you. For the first time that morning, I sat down. The rain against the window had become louder. My office smelled like wet wool and coffee gone cold. On the far wall, a framed photograph showed the Willamette Bridge after our final inspection. I had built a career on systems that had to remain safe, even when somebody ignored a warning. Yet I had ignored several. "Open it," I said. Noah found the page from last June. It listed the new gate keypad, the camera reset, the roof work, and the lockbox code we had retired. Beneath his handwriting was an entry I had forgotten making. Owner directions, no transfer of keys, codes, vendor authority, or access without direct written approval from James Weller. I remembered why I wrote it. An expensive art delivery had arrived while I was in Oregon. A driver had tried to convince Noah that Evelyn's verbal approval was enough to open the storage room. Noah had called me, and I had sent that instruction after. At the time, Evelyn had laughed. "You make every lamp delivery sound like a security summit," she said. Now that sentence felt different. I called my attorney, Mara Feld. Mara had handled the trust when I bought the house. She was precise. When her assistant asked what the call concerned, I said, "My wife appears to be trying to remove my caretaker and install a man she calls a property manager." Mara came on the line 3 minutes later. I told her the facts only. Evelyn was in the house with her parents and Bradley. She had told Noah that I had authorized his removal. She had claimed I could no longer manage the property. She had asked him to clear an owner closet. Noah had messages. I had authorized a lock change after an attorney could confirm the narrow steps we were taking. Mara asked 2 questions. "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Has Noah done anything inside the house besides preserve records?" "No." "Good," she said. "Keep it that way." She pulled the trust documents while I waited. I heard pages turn. There is a sound people misunderstand. Paper can sound cold. In the right hands, paper sounds like a handrail. Mara said the house was held by the trust I had funded before marriage. Evelyn had never been granted authority to replace caretakers, offer possession to third parties, or market the property. Her access as my spouse didn't create those powers. "Don't make broad legal declarations over the phone," she warned me. "We will give a simple written notice today. The practical point is narrower. Bradley has no permission from you. Evelyn can't invent it." That distinction mattered. I didn't want Noah acting as a judge. I wanted him acting as the man whose work I had paid him to do. Mara drafted a short instruction. It told Noah to preserve the property, retain copies of communications, and the old access codes, and use a licensed locksmith to change exterior locks under my written direction. It told him to allow Evelyn and her guests to collect personal belongings through a documented process after notice. It didn't threaten anyone. It didn't accuse anyone of a crime. It drew a boundary. Noah received the letter by email. He read it twice. "I can have the locksmith here in 40 minutes, he said. "Wait until everyone leaves for lunch or the beach," I said. "I don't want a scene in the driveway." "They are planning to go to lunch. Bradley said he wanted to show Dale the club." That struck me. The club. He said membership would make sense once they were here more often. Noah said it without judgment. He didn't need to add any. I imagined Dale Mercer walking through a place I had repaired board by board, talking about permanent arrangements while my own caretaker's bag sat outside. My first feeling was anger. The second was embarrassment. The third was worse than either. I felt relieved that the picture had finally become clear. For months, I'd been carrying a question I didn't want to name. Was Evelyn unhappy with me, or was she unhappy that I could still say no?
Bradley gave me my answer. Noah called again an hour later. Evelyn and the others had left in the rental car. He had photographed the rooms before they went. He had photographed the kitchen counter, the guest suite, the lanai, and the desk in my study. Did you find anything that should not be there? I asked. There is a folder on the desk, he replied. I didn't open it. Good. Leave it where it is. Take a photo of the cover. The cover read, Knox Coastal Residential. Below the name was a color photograph of my home. I knew the photograph. Evelyn had taken it at sunset last year. She had printed it for a holiday card and then complained that I looked stiff beside the bougainvillea. In the folder photograph, my face had been cropped out. Mara told Noah to preserve it in place until a local representative could document it. I told Noah to wait for the locksmith. Then I called Hannah. My daughter answered on the second ring. Dad, it is Tuesday. Did you forget the time difference again? No, I said. I need to tell you something before somebody else tells it wrong. That was all it took. Hannah had inherited her mother's ability to make room for a fact before trying to solve it. I told her what I knew. I told her what I didn't know. I told her not to get on a plane unless she wanted to, because I refused to turn her into a witness for a marriage she hadn't broken. She was quiet for a moment. Is Noah okay? She asked. That question almost undid me. Hannah knew Noah from years of family visits. He had taught her how to reset a tripped outdoor breaker when she was 21. He had driven us to the airport once after a storm when my rental car wouldn't start. She knew he wasn't scenery in our life. He is okay, I said. He did everything right. Then I am coming, she replied. Not to fight. I want you to have somebody there who remembers what that house was before this. I told her she didn't have to choose sides. Dad, she said, when someone tells the person who protects your home to get out, they already chose. She booked a flight from Seattle. I booked mine from Portland. Before I left for the airport, Noah sent a short video. The locksmith's truck stood at the curb. Noah was beside it with the written instruction open on his phone. The locksmith read it, checked my identification through a video call, and began working on the front door. I watched the cylinder come free. It made no sound I could hear through the recording. Yet I felt something shift inside me. For years, I had treated the house as a place where a loved one could make changes, because love should make room. I hadn't seen that Evelyn had confused room with surrender. Noah sent one more photograph. The brass key lay on top of the black maintenance book in the cab of his truck. The tiny metal tag faced upward. Lanai closet. He wrote, I brought these out with the records. I thought you would want them safe. I stared at Pet Key for a long time. It had never been worth more than a few dollars. It didn't unlock the front door. It didn't prove a trust or stop a sale. It proved something else. Noah remembered what mattered when Evelyn wanted the evidence of my care removed from sight. At the airport, I sat near the gate with my carry-on between my feet and opened the photographs again. The image of Bradley's folder kept returning to me. His company name, my house, my face cropped out. I called Mara one more time. Could a person market a place without being able to sell it? People can claim many things. A claim is an authority. What do we do if he has? We document it. We correct it. We don't get ahead of facts. That was the discipline I needed. I had built bridges with inspection reports, load calculations, and honest records. You don't protect a structure by guessing which bolt somebody removed. You protect it by checking every connection until the truth has nowhere to hide.
Mara contacted a local attorney she trusted. His name was Daniel Yosefa. He arrived at the house that afternoon with a paralegal and a camera. Noah met them at the gate. They documented the folder, the messages, and the empty places where Noah's tools had been ordered removed. Daniel called me while I waited to board. Mr. Weller, I am looking at a proposed listing packet, he said. It identifies Bradley Knox as the prospective marketing agent. My throat tightened. Proposed for whom? That is unclear in the packet. There is no signed listing agreement. There is a handwritten note on a page of comparable sales. What does it say? He paused. Then he read it. Jim will come around once he sees we have a buyer. He hates disappointing people. I closed my eyes. That was Evelyn's handwriting. I knew it from grocery lists and birthday cards. I knew the way her J curved low, the way she pressed too hard on the last word of a sentence. For years, she had not I hated disappointing people. I had told her that because I trusted her with the part of me that cost the most. She had turned it into a sales strategy. There are injuries you can explain away once. A careless sentence, a selfish week, a season of fear. But when somebody studies the shape of your kindness and designs a trap around it, the injury changes category. It becomes intent. I didn't cry in the airport. I wanted to. I felt the pressure behind my eyes and wanted to protect Evelyn even then. I imagined her saying that Bradley had pushed too far, that her parents had gotten excited, that she didn't mean the note as it sounded. I had defended her before she spoke. Then I remembered Noah's bag beside my front door. I remembered that she hadn't asked him to leave after an argument. She had arranged his replacement before I arrived. She had told him I was slowing down. She had used my age as a permission slip. That stopped the tears. If you have thoughts in the comments about who really owns a home, hold them for one more fact. I would soon learn Evelyn had promised a buyer he could tour my house on Monday. It made me careful. The flight to Maui took longer than it should have because weather held us on the ground in Portland. By the time I landed, Hannah had already arrived from Seattle. Daniel had arranged a room for us at a small hotel near the airport. He had advised me not to go directly to the house until the formal notice was delivered. That instruction hurt. I had to sleep in a hotel while my wife sat inside my home with her parents and her lover. But hurt isn't always a reason to move fast. Sometimes it is the reason to move correctly. Hannah was waiting in the lobby with 2 coffees and her hair pulled into a loose knot. She looked tired and angry, which meant she had spent the flight trying not to be either. She hugged me before saying anything. "I am sorry," she whispered. "You have nothing to be sorry for." "I know," she said. "I am sorry it happened anyway." We sat at a small sheeple near a window. The ocean was beyond the parking lot, dark and almost invisible. Hannah slid 1 coffee toward me. Daniel joined us 15 minutes later with a thin folder. He explained the limited steps in plain language. Evelyn and her guests would receive notice that Bradley had no authority to market the home. They would receive a scheduled time to retrieve belongings. They couldn't treat a visit as an ownership transfer. If they wanted to dispute anything, they could do it through counsel. Noah wouldn't confront them alone. That mattered to me. I had asked Noah to protect the house, not to carry my marriage on his back. Daniel also showed us the messages Noah had preserved. One of them was a group text between Evelyn, Bradley, Dale, and Ruth. The first part was ordinary. Flight times, dinner reservations, a question about whether Ruth wanted the larger guest room. Then Bradley wrote, "Once Noah is gone, we can get the place photographed without him hovering around."
Dale replied, "Jim will hate it at first, but he always backs down after people arrive." Ruth added, "Don't let him turn this into one of his paperwork marathons." Evelyn wrote last, "He will be upset, but he needs a reason to stop hiding in Portland. This is our next life." Hannah read the message twice. Then she put the folder down. She didn't want a conversation, she said. "No," I answered. She wanted a crowd around her conclusion. That was exactly right. Evelyn had brought her parents and Bradley because a room full of people makes a quiet man look unreasonable when he asks for one fact. Evelyn had learned my weakness well. She thought I would see her parents' suitcases, Bradley's smile, and the meal reservations, then decide peace was worth more than truth. That night, Hannah took the bed while I sat with Noah's black maintenance book and the brass key. I read the entries one by one. Every line represented a small act done before failure. Near the back, I found an entry I had made myself the year Evelyn and I married. "Evelyn has a home here with me. Home means care, not control." I had written it after she asked whether she could choose new cushions for the lanai. She had laughed when she saw it. At the time, the line felt tender. Now I understood its missing half. Care can't survive where control is demanded. At 7 the next morning, Daniel sent the notice by email and arranged delivery at the gate. Noah and I spoke before he went over. "You don't need to say anything beyond the notice," I told him. "I know," he said. "If Evelyn blames you, don't take the bait." "I won't." There was a pause. "Mr. Weller," Noah added, "I am sorry this is happening. You didn't cause it." "No, but I saw parts of it earlier than you did." That was honest. It hurt, but it was honest. "Tell me," I said. He told me Evelyn had started asking questions about vendor schedules in the spring. Then she asked whether the house could be shown when I was in Portland. Noah said he would need my written approval. "She got angry," he said. Not loud, more like I had embarrassed her. "Why did you not call me?" "Because she said you knew. I should have checked anyway." I looked at the brass key in my hand. "You checked now," I said. "That is what matters." Noah's voice softened. "I didn't want to become a problem between you two." "You weren't the problem, Noah. You were the warning." At 8:30, Daniel called. Evelyn had received the notice. She was furious. "She says the locks were changed while she was at breakfast," Daniel told me. "She says Noah trapped her out." "Did she say Bradley was there?" "She says he is a consultant." "Did she say he had a marketing packet?" "She didn't answer that question." Daniel scheduled a meeting at the house for 10. Evelyn could bring her attorney if she had one. Dale and Ruth could be there to retrieve their belongings. Bradley could be there only to collect his own things and leave. Hannah looked at me across the breakfast table. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No, but readiness is often a story people tell after they have already stood up." "Yes," I said. We drove up the slope toward the house with Daniel in front and Hannah beside me. I had made that drive 100 times. I knew where the road bent around the stand of eucalyptus. I knew where the signal disappeared for 30 seconds. I knew the exact moment the roofline came into view. That morning, every familiar detail felt borrowed. When we reached the gate, the new lock shone against the old metal. Noah stood on the inside near the driveway, wearing a clean gray shirt and holding a clipboard. He looked smaller than he had on the phone. I hated that Evelyn had tried to make him feel disposable. He opened the gate for us. "Good morning, Mr. Weller," he said. "Good morning, Noah." Then I shook his hand. I had paid him for 11 years of work. I had thanked him many times, but I had never shaken his hand at my own gate, as if the world could see what he had protected.
I should have done that sooner. Evelyn stood on the lanai with her arms folded. Dale and Ruth were behind her. Bradley stood near the front door in a linen shirt that suddenly looked less expensive than it had in the photograph. Evelyn looked at Hannah first. "You brought her into this?" Hannah didn't answer. "I did. She came because she loves me." Evelyn's expression hardened. "I elect you too, Jim. Then we need to speak about what happened without changing its name." Daniel introduced himself and explained the meeting. Evelyn interrupted twice. He continued anyway. Bradley wasn't authorized to market the property. Noah remained the authorized caretaker. The lock change had occurred under my written direction after Noah received instructions claiming I had replaced him. Dale stepped forward. "This is ridiculous," he said. "We are family. You are guests," I replied. He stared at me. "After all these years, you came here with a man my wife called a consultant. He brought documents for a house he doesn't own. You told my caretaker I was slowing down. That isn't a family visit." Ruth began to cry. For one terrible second, I wanted to make it easier for her. Ruth had once spent 3 days at my bedside after a back injury. She had baked Hannah a birthday cake when Evelyn and I first married. The past doesn't become false because the present becomes cruel, but kindness can't require amnesia. "I am sorry you are hurt," I told her. "You will have time to collect your things. You won't stay here." Bradley cleared his throat. "Mr. Weller, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Evelyn asked me for informal advice." I looked at Daniel. He opened the folder and removed the photographed packet. "Is this your business name?" Daniel asked. Bradley's face changed. "It is." "Is this your proposed marketing plan?" Bradley didn't answer. Daniel set the handwritten note on the table between us. Evelyn saw it. Her eyes ripped to me. For the first time since I arrived, she looked afraid. I didn't raise my voice. "You wrote that I would come around once I saw a buyer," I said. "What did you mean?" "I was frustrated," she said. "I was trying to get you to come to Maui." "By removing Noah?" "Noah was making everything difficult." Noah stood still near the gate. "By telling him I couldn't manage details anymore?" Evelyn looked down. "You have been distant," she said. "You bury yourself in work. Then you act surprised when I want a life." There was truth inside that sentence. I had worked too much. I had spent long weeks in Portland after retirement consulting on projects I could have declined. I had treated usefulness like proof of worth. But a true complaint doesn't make a false takeover honest. "You wanted a different life," I said. "You had every right to say that. You didn't have the right to build it by telling people I was incapable and pushing the man who protected my home out the door." Evelyn's mouth trembled. "I never said you were incapable." Daniel lifted his phone and read her message to Noah. "Jim is slowing down and doesn't want to manage details anymore." No one spoke. That was the moment the crowd disappeared. Dale had no argument. Ruth had no comforting explanation. Bradley had no business posture left. Evelyn had only her own words, standing in the sunlight between us. I had waited years for a clear sentence. It had finally arrived. "Bradley," Daniel said, "you will collect your personal belongings now. You won't contact prospective buyers about this property. Written notice will follow." Bradley looked at Evelyn. She looked away. He walked inside and returned 10 minutes later with the garment bag and a small devil. He didn't speak to me. He didn't speak to Noah. At the gate, he paused as if he expected somebody to stop him. No one did. Evelyn watched him leave. That wasn't the payment. It was only the end of a lie having somebody else to stand behind. The harder part came next. Evelyn went into the bedroom to pack. Hannah asked if she wanted help. Evelyn said no. Ruth followed her after a moment. Dale sat at the outdoor table and stared at the hillside.
I stayed on the lanai with Noah. For a while, we said nothing. The house had always been quiet in the morning. Birds moved through the trees. Wind lifted the edge of a cushion. Somewhere down the road, a truck changed gears. Noah looked at the new locks. "I don't like seeing a home become this," he said. "Neither do I. I wish I had called sooner." I turned toward him. "Evelyn counted on both of us waiting for proof we couldn't ignore," I said. "You gave me the proof when you called." He nodded, but his face remained sad. That was right, too. Some victories should not feel clean. They should feel necessary. When Evelyn came back out, she had 2 suitcases and the green scarf she had once given Hannah folded over one arm. Hannah saw it and said nothing. Evelyn placed her hand on the back of a chair. "So this is it?" she said. I could have given her a speech. I had rehearsed several on the flight. I could have told her every time she dismissed Noah, every time she referred to the house as though I were a temporary complication, every time I chose peace and called it love. Instead, I told her the truth I could sustain. "This is the end of you having access to this house through me." Her eyes filled. "You are throwing me away over one terrible week." "No," I said. "I am responding to months of decisions that came into focus this week. I was lonely. You could have told me. You would have explained everything like a project. That landed because it was partly true. I had explained. I had delayed. I had asked for time when a person needed a feeling. But she had answered my failures with a plan to erase me from my own home. I may have failed you as a husband," I said. "I will examine that honestly. But I won't let you use my failures to make Noah expendable or to bring your lover into a house you had no right to offer." Her face went pale at the word lover. Dale stirred up. "You don't need to humiliate her," he said. I looked at him. "I am not humiliating her. I am refusing to lie about why Bradley was here." He sat back down. Evelyn pressed the scarf against her chest. "What happens now?" she asked. "Your attorney can contact mine. Daniel has the process for personal belongings. We will handle the separation with records and time. There will be no surprise locks on a home you own. There will be no calls to your employer. There will be no performance for anyone." I stopped there, because I meant it. The people who hurt us often expect revenge to look like them. They expect shouting, public ruin, a larger cruelty sent back across the table. I didn't want Evelyn's life destroyed. I wanted my life returned to the truth. She nodded once. Then she walked toward the rental car with Ruth. Dale followed with the second suitcase. The car door closed. The engine started. Evelyn didn't look back. Noah watched until the car passed through the open gate. Then he swung it shut. The new latch caught with a simple metal click. That sound didn't make me triumphant. It made me tired. After they left, Daniel reviewed the final inventory with Noah. The proposed listing packet was retained for counsel. The old keypad codes were deleted. The guest Wi-Fi password changed. The locksmith left a sealed envelope containing the new key set. I signed the maintenance log beside Noah's note about the lock change. Exterior locks were placed under owner instruction. Access records preserved. House secure. My hand shook while I wrote. Hannah placed her hand over my wrist for a second. "You don't have to be made of stone," she said. "I know." "Good. Because you aren't." Daniel left after lunch. He reminded me that the legal work would continue slowly, which was a mercy. Real life doesn't close because one driveway scene ends. There would be documents, meetings, and nights when I would remember Evelyn on the lanai before I remembered the messages. I accepted that. Noah stayed to check the gate sensor. He had a new keypad in his truck, but he didn't install it until I asked him what would make the system safer without turning the house into a fortress.
"A separate code for each person who has a reason to be here," he said. "No shared codes, no assumptions." I smiled despite myself. "That sounds like more than a gate policy. Most maintenance does," he said. We worked through the afternoon in small tasks. Hannah opened windows. I carried nothing heavier than a box of cushions. Noah checked the lower deck. The house hadn't changed physically. The same stone walls held the same heat. The same view opened past the trees. But the rooms felt different, because I no longer had to pretend that love gave another person the right to decide who belonged there. Near sunset, Noah found the brass key on the kitchen counter where he had set it that morning. He handed it to me. "Do you want this back in the closet?" he asked. I looked at the small tag. For years, I thought the key mattered because it opened a storage room. It mattered because it had been kept with the record of care. Put it on the keyboard, I said, right beside the new gate keys. Noah hanged it there. The dented tag caught the last light from the lanai. Hannah had made grilled fish, rice, and a bowl of sliced mango from the small market down the road. We ate at the outdoor table. There were 3 plates. No speech, no ceremony. Noah tried to leave after dinner. "You have had a long day," he said. "You two should have family time." Hannah looked at me. I understood what she was asking without words. "Noah," I said, "you are part of the reason this house is still safe tonight. Sit down. Have dessert." He hesitated. Then he sat. We ate mango with small spoons while the sky turned dark. Hannah told Noah about a student who had built a water filter out of sand and a soda bottle. Noah told her the drainage channel had held during the last storm because she had once helped him clear it when she was younger. I had forgotten that afternoon. She had been 23, impatient, sunburned, and laughing at how slowly I moved with a rake. Noah had taught her where the water would go if the channel blocked. She had learned it quickly. The memory came back whole. That is the strange thing about loss. It can make you see what remained. I didn't know what Evelyn's life would look like in a year. I didn't know whether she would regret Bradley, regret the note, regret treating Noah like an obstacle, or regret nothing at all. I couldn't build my peace around answers she might never give. I knew what I would do. I would show up for the legal meetings. I would listen when I needed to hear hard truths about my marriage. I would keep the home and the trust until I decided otherwise. I would pay Noah fairly. I would call Hannah more often and answer on the first ring when I could. Most of all, I would stop mistaking endurance for love. A house doesn't become a home because the door stays unlocked for everyone. It becomes a home because the people inside know no one has to disappear for somebody else to feel welcome. The next morning, I woke before sunrise and made coffee in the kitchen. The new keyboard hung beside the pantry. The brass key was there, small and plain among the others. Hannah came in wearing one of my old shirts. Noah arrived an hour later with a replacement part for the gate sensor. He knocked before entering. That mattered to me. The house wasn't closed to the world. It was opened by truth. If this story reminded you that a boundary can protect what love couldn't, share your thoughts in the comments. Stay with this channel if you believe calm truth still has a place in this world. Then I handed Noah the coffee he liked, and Hannah opened the lanai doors to let the morning in.